on to give your name, address, and interest in the matter before the council. Those matters are a discussion of the constant yield tax rate, a discussion of ordinance 526, which is an ordinance for the levy of taxes for the fiscal year starting July 1 of 18 through June 30th of 19, otherwise known as fiscal year 2019. Discussion of ordinance 527, which is an ordinance to adopt the annual budget of the town of Hampstead for the said period. And then we're also going to have a discussion of the resolution 2018-02, which is a resolution regarding the increase of water rates. After we do all that, there's a discussion of ordinance 528, which is an ordinance to amend chapter 135 of the Hampstead Town Code regarding conditional uses in the local business zoning district. So, with that said, I'll run through the budget real quick. Basically, the goal every year is to maintain fiscal sustainability and resiliency. We want to minimize the impacts of the inevitable downturns that are going to occur as the economy goes through its ups and downs. During those periods of times, as we saw from 08 to basically 011, there was a lot of cuts from the state government and not as much from the county, but definitely the state government, which impacted everybody. Plus, we're a reflection of the government. So if the property taxes aren't there and the income taxes aren't there, the revenue that we need to provide the services that we give aren't there. So as we go through the taxes, part one of it is the state requires us to do an announcement that because we're maintaining our tax rate at 22 cents, we are going to get more money than last year because the assessments went up because we're in a good economy. So that difference is like 0.31%, 31 cents. But at any rate, we're required to give that announcement. If we kept the same amount of money, we'd be at a 0.2131 instead of a 0.22 as far as the tax rate goes. As far as our tax rate goes, we're at 22 cents. As I said, the last time we increased it was from 21 to 22 cents in 16, and before that you had to go back to 02 when we did 20 to 21. We compare to Manchester at 21.6, Sykesville at 35, Tawnytown at 37, and Westminster at 56. We also have business personal property taxes at 55 cents. Manchester, as comparisons, at 46. Sykesville's at 87.5. Tawnytown 80. Westminster $1.10. So you can see Manchester and us are on the lower end as far as tax rates go. Amusement tax is set at 7%. That primarily applies to Oakmont Green with the revenue that they produce. And then another big piece of our local income is the amount of money, that little box you check on the Maryland tax return that says you live in Hampstead is not an extra tax, but make sure that we get a share of what you pay to the state and county to use here at the local level. That is actually going to show a 2.2% decrease, but only because there was a tax case last year that was adjudicated and it resulted in a one-time payment to the town of Hampstead. Otherwise, we'd be seeing a 2.8% increase. Other revenues that are out there: highway user revenue, Maryland Municipal League, which we're all part of, which is all the towns and cities in the state of Maryland. Highway user revenue was basically founded on when you stick that gas pump into your gas tank. A certain amount of that revenue that's generated from those taxes are supposed to come back to the local municipality where they were generated. Well, back in 2010, during the downturn, I think we got to a low of $24,000 when it traditionally had been about $296,000. So you can see the impact that it's had on roads, not just in Hampstead, but all over the place. And we were only receiving about $40,000 a year for the next 3 years. Well, we finally got the legislation through with Governor Hogan's help and the General Assembly agreeing that the next budget year we're going to have a 27% increase in highway user revenue money through 2024. After that, I guess we gotta work on making the restoration of highway user revenue money permanent. But next year we're going to get $193,000. Next year being the budget year we're talking about, 18 to 19. From 19 to 20, we should see about $245,000. So we're getting back to 290, but not quite. We're about 85% of the way there, but it's better than 10% of the way there. Next year we also get program open space money, which is grant funded. With the towns and Carroll County split it up, so every other year we get a little bit more than previous years. Next year we're in cycle, so we get more, which we put to use in our parks. I think we're planning on an upgrade to or putting in a basketball court at Panther Park.
Yes.
So that's another reason. Carroll County gives us money for overlapping services because we all live in Carroll County and you get taxed in Carroll County. We try to do a calculation to nullify some of that so you don't get double taxed for the same services. That amount of money is typically about $350,000 every single year, and it stays relatively flat. If we're looking and comparing next year to next year's proposed budget to the last actual year we had, which was June 30th of 17, we're going to go from estimate $3.2 million in general fund revenue to up from 3.1, which is a 3.2% increase, and our budget to budget is a 3.3% increase when you take out some one-time events like the program open space and some sale of equipment that we're going to get. On the expense side, we've got 21 employees currently. We have 3 open positions all in the police department. Every year we try to compare where we are between the county, and usually we track ourselves with Westminster to make sure that we're in line. We're looking at a 3% general increase, but it's not across the board. We compare favorably with the other towns in Carroll County as well as the county. One discrepancy this year is the sheriff got this big increase passed, deservedly so, for all his deputies. So we've got to look to track that so we don't then train all those guys so they can go work for the sheriff. So it's a competitive environment out there, and in a good economy, that's what happens. The other big expense we have is trash and waste removal. $325,000 of our budget is that. We just awarded a new contract for Hughes, which gives us 3 years of certainty related to that contract. It also has 2 one-year options afterwards. So we have some idea of where our trash collection costs are going to be, excluding whether the commissioners decide to increase tipping fees at the landfill. That's sort of the general fund side of it. On the water fund side, we have embarked on an annual increase of water rates for some period of time. Next year it's 8%, as it's been for quite a number of years, but our water rates are on par with the other towns in Carroll County. Our water fund actually owes the general fund money, so we're still trying to get to the point where the water fund is totally sustainable. As far as history goes in Hampstead with our water, we have an appropriations permit for 585,000 gallons. We, in May, Kevin told me, pumped 352,000 on average. So we've got capacity to handle growth. We've got capacity to handle business, unlike many of the other towns in Carroll County and outside of the Baltimore metropolitan area. We currently have 10 pump houses and 14 wells. We're working on the super pump house with MDE, which is an ever-changing regulatory environment, which will get us that 11th pump house and 18 wells in service. So it's always a challenge on the capital side as far as the water system goes. Water leaks with the replacement of the Main Street, the old main on Main Street. I think we ran over 400,000 gallons typically in a given month. Now we're, like I just said, 352. And that was May, which is a high usage. That just shows you how old that old main was leaking like a sieve and wasn't very efficient. So that, in the long run, will pay dividends for us, and hopefully it will last a good 75 years. Forecast is positive in general. We're a reflection, as I said, of the general economy. As long as that general economy is humming along, our budget will reflect the same. I don't see any reason for it to change, hopefully through the end of next year, and we'll see how that goes. On the residential sales side, which generates the property taxes, I ride my bike around town a fair amount. I'm not seeing many sale signs out there, and when I do, they go quickly. And what I hear very quickly for asking prices, and in some cases a little bit above, which indicates a pretty strong market. The foreclosure process, which has become just Byzantine. We're slowly working through some of those foreclosures that date back now 4 and 5 years, which are still empty, and hopefully come back online and get back into the residential inventory. As I indicated before, expenses are always a challenge, but we analyze them carefully and make sure that we're making the right long-term decisions when we do decide to invest in the town. So that's my spiel on the budget. I guess part of that budget is the capital plan. Next year, we've got the Main Street revitalization ongoing. That's being done by State Highway. Our only piece of that is $650,000 related to the new lights that'll go on. We'll be incurring that expense over time, and we are bonding that through F&M Bank. We've made some good use of those bonding proceeds over the last 10 years in this low rate environment that we've been in, and it's done us well. We're going to undertake some stormwater management improvements related to Sycamore. The culvert that runs under Sycamore is starting to fail, and so we need to address that. There's $122,000 for that. On the water improvement side, North Carroll Tower needs to be sandblasted so we can sustain its life into the 2030s. So we'll be undertaking that next year. And then, assuming we get the MDE permits all squared away, we'll be extending one more well over to the super pump house over by North Carroll Farms 5, where we have the solar array, and that'll pretty much build out our system as we know it, and for the near future at least. Then there's the typical trucks that we need to buy every year, the police car that we need to buy every year, and apparently the surveillance system over at the police department needs an upgrade, so that's something else we're going to spend a few dollars on. So that, in a nutshell, is what we do. It's all related to public safety. It's all related to trash. It's all related to the employees who carry on all the various duties that you see them doing. There's not a lot of extra fluff in there. It's a basic service model of government. So, with that, any comment on the budget? I'll give you credit. Y'all stayed awake. All right, seeing none, I guess thank you for that. And then the other part is the ordinance, which is regarding conditional uses in the local business zoning district. You want to give the
Wood rates.
what?
Did you cover wood rates? You did
I
last.
mean, I said we're going up 8%, so.
Okay.
Basically, Resolution 528, that is the addition, excuse me?
Ordinance 528.
Ordinance 528, which is, where's my notes? It adds a subsection to Chapter 135, 113, adding microbreweries, wineries, and distilleries, and associated tap rooms and tasting facilities to the list of conditional uses of businesses that are allowed in the local business district down on Main Street. And that's it, basically, in a nutshell, what Ordinance 528 is.
Comment?
I'll make a brief public comment. Kelly Schaefer, SHAFFER, here tonight with Mr. Tim Eccles, who is a hopeful prospective brewer and is excited about this text amendment and looking forward to hopefully one day starting business in the town of Hampstead. So we're here tonight in favor of the text amendment, and we look forward to working with the town.
Thank you, Kelly. We're looking forward to having them. Any other comments? Going once, twice, 3 times. All right. We're like a minute and a half from 7:30, so we'll just roll right into the regular meeting of the mayor and council. Please rise for the opening prayer, which instead of an opening prayer, we'll have a moment of silence in memory of Amy Caprio, who was the Baltimore County officer who was killed in the line of duty. Thank you. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tammi, roll when you're ready.
Mayor Nevin.
Here.
Councilwoman Duff. Here. Councilman Renahan.
Here.
Councilman Roark.
Here.
Councilman Thomas.
Here.
Councilman Unglesby.
Here.
All right, minute approvals. We had a public hearing last month on 5/8. We had a council minutes on 5/8. We had another council meeting on the 22nd briefly. And we had a council meeting that was closed on 5/31, which I'll read a statement about. Is there a motion for all 4?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The closed meeting was after scheduling. This is something we have to read to comply with open meetings law, but after scheduling and posting notice of a closed meeting of the Hampstead Town Council, the meeting was held at 7:30 on May 31st here at Town Hall. I presided over that meeting. Present during the meeting were all the council members you see before you, as well as Town Manager Tammi Ledley and Acting Chief of Police Chuck Rapp. The candidate for the vacant police chief position and his wife were invited to attend and were present as well. obviously to interview said person. Pursuant to the authority in the state government article section 10-508A, a motion to go into closed session was made by Councilmember Thomas and second by Councilmember Duff to discuss the possible employment of the candidate. The matter was discussed. The closed session was adjourned with a motion by Councilman Thomas and a second by Councilman Roark. The meeting was reopened. The open meeting was then adjourned with a motion by Councilmember Thomas and a second by Councilmember Unglesby. All right. On to Town Manager's report and the Main Street revitalization update.
For the Main Street revitalization project, town staff attended the 11th partnering meeting last month. As of today, the project's on schedule. CJ Miller has installed the curb, gutter, and sidewalk on the east side of Main Street from Northwoods Trail to Lower Beckleyville Road. Some sections, if you've noticed, of the sidewalk have been completed with pervious concrete. They will begin installing curb, gutter, and sidewalk on the west side of the same area this week. They have already surveyed the area, placing stakes as needed. We have sent letters to homeowners and businesses in the location of the work, asked them to leave the stakes in place until they are removed by the contractor. Additional stakes have been placed north of Lower Beckleysville for stormwater work. And again, they should be finishing up the gas line work where they're next to Jiffy Mart, Gill Avenue. That should be finished this week. Northside Estates, the development's doing well. 5 houses are built, 4 have been sold, and they've also sold 1 empty lot. The model home is open for viewing, but the hours vary, so look for the open flag. Other residential developments that we've been working with, Melanie Acres will introduce their final plan next month, and Florida Rock hopes to introduce their concept plan soon. Town staff met with the engineers representing the Crestview Meadows development, which would be between Lower Beckleysville and Upper Beckleysville, about obtaining water for their site. With our finance department, right now Cheryl is preparing for FY18 year end, so she's busy as usual. With Public Works, the superintendent and assistant superintendent attended the Maryland Rural Water Conference in Ocean City, May 8th through 10th. Mike and Jeremy will attend a short course at Mount St. Mary's University this week to help prepare them for the Class 3 license exam on June 8th. North Carroll Business Park, which is where Fuchs is and the land behind Fuchs. The Assistant Zoning Administrator, Lorena Vicaire, and myself attended 2 meetings with CLSI and Carroll County Economic Development about the section of North Carroll Business Park behind Fuchs. To begin marketing the development, an entrance road will be constructed to the property south of the car wash. The parcel is currently a single lot, but can be divided into several lots in the future. The entrance for the park and construction of the service road was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission in the May 23rd meeting. Other businesses that we've been working with, Tractor Supply Company's ready to introduce their final site plan. We have 2 businesses that opened on Main Street during Memorial Day weekend. The Sales Zone opened at 1154 South Main Street, which is across from Jiffy Mart. And Ricky's Bistro is now open at Ileana's Plaza 2. Ricky said that his restaurant has been very busy and he's just been overwhelmed by the community's support. We have Pipe the Side Brewing Companies looking at the building located at 1216 North Main Street to start a nano brewery. To assist with preparation for a future opening, the owner submitted an application to the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce Carroll Biz Challenge in hopes to receive over $5,000 to start his business. So there's a meet and greet of the competitors at Town Mall in Westminster this Thursday, June 7th from 5 to 7. So if you have a chance, please stop by and show support for our future local business. As far as meetings for last month, I attended the town manager's luncheon in Sykesville. And of course, most of the discussion was about our budgets. And the new town manager of New Windsor, Gary Dye, was in attendance. We had a Board of Zoning Appeals hearing. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We had a special council meeting held on Tuesday, May 22nd to appoint 2 new members to the Board of Zoning Appeals, Diane Barrett as a member and Tracy McCoy as the alternate. We had a Board of Zoning Appeals case hearing was held on Tuesday, May 29th at 7 p.m. This case was an appeal for a change in the non-conforming use at 1108 South Main Street. The property was previously operated as Main Street Manor, a day spa and beauty salon. The change in non-conforming use was granted, and the property will now be operated under its current owner as a Manor of Time, a gift and sundry shop.
Questions for Tammy? All right, Marlene, I guess you have news.
Well, it's, excuse me, it's going to be short and sweet, though, but very nice. We were just thrilled with Saturday's turnout at the farmer's market. We counted 1,650 customers compared to 1,491 last year, so that was a little bit of an increase, and 30 vendors last Saturday compared to 28 in 2017. We received extremely positive feedback from both customers regarding, not both customers, from customers regarding the products offered and the new coffee and breakfast options. And we also received good feedback from vendors regarding their permanent space assignments. It's made for a lot less stress for me and Sharon at 6:30 in the morning, so it worked out really well. So we are just looking forward to 17 more Saturdays, just like opening day. That's it.
Okay.
And thank you for cutting the ribbon. It was wonderful.
Thanks.
Thanks to Jim and Wayne for attending as well and shopping.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
It was fun. And meet and greet with all the your vendors was neat too. Wayne?
The Hampstead train station held their first flea market of the season on Hampstead Day. Business is a little slow. The flea markets are the fourth Saturday of every month. The next one's going to be on June 23rd. Mother Nature was not nice to us this past weekend. Music in the Park got rained out. So our next event's going to be on July 7th. It's going to be Dick Merriman and the Country Express. And that starts at 6:30 to 8:30. Free admission, come early. And we're working with St. John's. Hopefully they're going to be providing food this year. So that'll be a good thing. Tree commissions, we looked at a couple issues. We also applied for a grant from Constellation Energy. Small grant, $250. Hopefully we'll get it. And this is to establish the, we've already started planting trees in Panther Park for the walk. And so we're going to try to increase the trees every year. So we'll be looking into that. And I did attend the Hampstead School alumni, but I'll let you do the
Thank you.
part of yours. Thank you.
All right, Jim?
Okay. Planning and Zoning Commission of Hampstead met on Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018. First up was a request for approval of the preliminary site plan for the Tractor Supply Company store. Everything looks good still with the county agencies and when they're well within town code, so the plan was approved. Next, as Tammi was talking about earlier, was the introduction of the concept plan for the North Carroll Business Park, the south section. This was only a partial concept plan, with only for the entrance road and the grading going into the park next to the car wash on Business 30. Basically just putting this in to allow prospective clients to come in, look at the property, and basically market the property. Since this was only a partial concept plan, the plan could be introduced and approved at the same meeting, so the partial concept plan was approved. We then had a business and sign request for for Manor of Time, located at 1108 South Main Street. I'm going right back over Tammi again. A Manor of Time already met with us 2 months ago and introduced a business which is selling gifts, knickknacks, and sundries. The business had a hearing with BZA to get an approval of non-conforming use. The sign will be the exact same size and almost the same look as the sign which Main Street Manor had, which was within town code. The business and the sign were both approved contingent on BZA's approval of the non-conforming use, which, as Tammi stated, they did approve, so the business is good to go. Next, we had a business and sign request for the Sale Zone, located at 1154 South Main Street. Sale Zone sells closed out items and slightly used items at discounted prices. The business was an allowable business in that zone according to the town code. The signs that they're requesting were 2 temporary banners, one to go above the door and one to hang on the Gill Avenue side of the building. The sizes were fine. They were both within code. The businesses and the signs were both approved. Temporary banners are only good for 30 days, so they need to come back next month to get their permanent signs approved. One other thing they did is they left us a bunch of 20% off one item coupons. If anybody wants one, they're good through Saturday. Come up and see me after the meeting. The commission then reviewed Ordinance 528, which adds a subsection to Chapter 135-13, adding microbreweries, wineries, and distilleries, and associated tap rooms and tasting facilities to the list of conditional use businesses allowed in the local business district. Councilmember Thomas had asked that a definition for the above types of businesses be added. corresponding to Chapter 135-3.A. We were given a draft of the amended ordinance, including the addition of the definition, and the Planning and Zoning Commission requested Ordinance 528, or recommended Ordinance 528 back to the council for adoption, including addition of the definition. Next was the approval of the Carroll County Planning Annual Report. We were given the draft on this last month and asked to review it. When we did review it, we found two ordinances that we had passed last year pertaining to zoning, which were not in the county report, so we asked them to please put them in. They did. We saw the new amended report, and we approved it. Price Wagner from the county's Department of Planning gave us the triennial update to the 2014 Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan as it pertains to the town of Hampstead. The update had been reviewed by town staff, Hampstead Department of Public Works. Told Kevin went over it very closely, and all the information was correct, so we went ahead and approved the update. In his county report, Price also informed us that the spring amendment to the county's water plan is about to go to MDE. It has gone there by now for approval. The part of the amendment that pertains to Hampstead is changes in classifications for both the Patmos property and for Melanie Acres. Basically, what we need them to do is to move the water from future to priority. Price doesn't see any hang-ups in getting MDE's approval, but they don't move that fast all the time, so it could take until the end of September to get that approval. He also informed us that the county's having a photo contest promoting their pedestrian walkways and bike paths in the county. The photo has to include someone using one of the walkways or bike paths in the county. If anybody's interested, there are, what was there, one prize or two prizes they're giving out? At least one prize. It's a gift certificate to a bike store.
Fitting.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, I'm pretty sure that Tammi or Lorena has more information or could point you in the right direction. It was also suggested that we get a picture of our mayor out riding on his bike on a bike path and submit that.
I think so.
Right on the bypass, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's
All
it.
right. Sounds like a plan. It's a good ride around here if you've never done it, up and down a lot. Joe?
Nothing for me this month.
All right, Dave.
As you guys know, May 16th, the MML Carroll County chapter, I was the chairman this year of the scholarship program. We awarded 3 scholarships this year to 3 well-deserved students here in Carroll County. 2 young ladies from Mount Airy, Allie Zielinski, Carolyn Downing, and a young gentleman here from Hampstead, Bryce Francis. All were each awarded $1,000 scholarship awards from our MML chapter. Also, I'm super excited this year for the MML conference, which I assume we'll all be attending here on Sunday down in Ocean City. There's quite a bit of new events that we're going to have, that we have planned this year, and there's several new classes. And actually, Councilman Thomas and myself are going to attend the first graduate class on Wednesday, which is really exciting. It's an in-depth 3-4 hour class.
One.
Actually, it's going to be on Main Street Economic Development. Yeah, so
Okay.
hopefully that will help us with our project. So excited about that. And one last thing, I want to thank Lorena Vaquer for her help with the scholarship this year in the town office. She helped me get all the paperwork together, the pamphlets, the scholarship certificates. Couldn't have done it without her. So hats off to her once again. May 2018 average water usage so far was 352,000 gallons per day. June 18 so far is 366,000 gallons per day. Rainfall total for May 2018 was 6.1 inches, and so far in June 2018 is 1.7. Thank you, sir.
All right.
I do have a comment about the Main Street booth at MML. If anybody can help, we have a Main Street booth. Carroll County Tourism pays for the booths, and they allow us to attend, even though Hampstead's not technically a designated Main Street, which I think is very kind of them. So we have a booth set up during the time of the Main Street exhibit, which is 11:30 to 4 on Monday and 9:30 to 2 on Tuesday. So if anybody is able to help man our booth, we're giving away Outlaw Barbecue Spices again and coffee. So it's, people get excited.
Good.
Goes over very well.
I'll look at I'll look at my schedule. I'll see when, or let me know when you need some coverage.
I can
I'll
help
see
on
if I
Tuesday.
can
Okay.
help you out.
Chief Rapp.
Mayor, members of council, good evening.
Good evening.
For May, traffic safety, we had 172 citations and warnings issued, 12 crashes reported, with 6 on the bypass, 482, 341 patrol checks of businesses and schools, crime, 2 domestic assault cases cleared by arrest, 2 assaults, 1 burglary, 1 theft, and 1 DUI. For arrest, we had 8 adults arrested, 1 for DUI, 2 for domestics, 2 for driving suspended and revoked, and 2 for open warrants, and 1 for driving under the influence. As you know, Officer Harold graduated the academy. He's currently out on field training, which will run through this month of June and into a little bit of July. But he's out on the streets, and you should be seeing him in the town. We also conducted a joint investigation along with members of the Sheriff's Office Rope Unit, serving a search and seizure warrant in the 1400 block of Main Street, which yielded a significant seizure of CDS and weapons. So that investigation is still ongoing, as well as charges for the individuals involved in that. That's it.
Last couple Saturdays, I've seen deputies sitting on the north-facing and south-facing sides of the roundabout.
Yes.
Just to make everybody aware they got to slow down.
Yeah, it's part of it is distracted driver training, as well as the seatbelt enforcement for this month. But they're also just out there because of the number of accidents that have been occurring on the bypass, just to keep people aware and maybe have them slow down a little bit, take a little notice of what they're doing.
Do you know how many accidents occur on the north and south end?
Of Main Street,
Of the bypass, the circles north and south of the bypass. I mean, obviously report on 482 because it's within town limits.
right. I can't tell you that tonight. I could get your report on that if you're interested.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
As many accidents as we have at the 482 circle.
I don't.
They're a lot less violent than if there was a side collision and broadsides, because there was a traffic intersection. But yeah, they're a challenge.
They are.
Other-
People don't follow the channel.
No. Questions for Chuck?
No.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, my report, Wayne and I attended the Hampstead High, Hampstead School alumni lunch on Saturday at the fire hall. Basically, it's, back in the day, the old school on Main Street housed from, this is how it worked, from 1st through 11th grade initially, because there was no 12th and there was no kindergarten. Then they added 12th grade, and then K through 12, all in one building for many, many years in Hampstead. So they have a reunion, but, they're getting a little older. So if you have graduated from now North Carroll, what was North Carroll High School, which is now North Carroll Middle School, and your classes, so they're up to 1968, you have to be out of school for 50 years to get to come to this lunch. So there was about 140 people there.
Wow.
I've been doing this with Wayne for a number of years, and so it's quite interesting to check back in with several of the people pretty much every year. But one thing they did is they do fundraising for different things in Hampstead, and that like the little children you see sitting on the bench at the War Memorial, well, they funded that. So the next thing they're doing is a new clock, which they're donating, and it's going to be engraved with Hampstead, installed next to War Memorial on the north side, and Tammy's been working with them on that, and so we look forward to seeing that. But it's going to be like an old-fashioned with actual hands and a face clock. It's not digital, so it'll look pretty neat, and I think it'll add a little bit to the character of the Main Street and the War Memorial. And those people still, Hampstead's their home, and I would say 30 or 40% of them still live in the environs. Many others travel great distances to come back every single year. So it's just neat to see. The other thing you may have noticed, and it's gotten a lot of pub, is the military banner program. This year, instead of just the Stars and Stripes up there for our patriotic season, which we consider Memorial Day to Labor Day during the summer, we heard about the military banner program. So if you have somebody who's been in the service or was killed in action in the service, and we work with the American Legion to get their picture up there, their name up there, the branch of service, and I think the years that they served. So I think that's been a great addition to Main Street. It's been really well received. It's sold out like that. Our thanks to Misty Strivik and the American Legion for making that happen. It really was surprised how quickly it was accepted, and I think we're other than we have 2 flag banners, one on the north, one on the south side. The rest of them are all sold. So that's been great. We had the joint Frederick County, Carroll County MML meeting a little bit early last month in Mount Airy. We all attended that. That was a good meeting to sit down and talk about different things that happened over the legislative session, the primary one, which was the highway user fund revenue, which I went over earlier. Farmers market opening that Marlene mentioned. The meeting we went to Saturday. On Thursday, I'm going to the Manchester Valley High School Awards. We give out 2 $1,000 scholarships to Hampstead residents, and so I'll be making those presentations on Thursday morning. And then we've already mentioned that we'll be down at MML come Sunday through next Wednesday for the various events that go on for that. That's always a busy time. So I think that's it for me. Did I miss anything? Miss anybody?
Memorial Day?
Huh?
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Oh, and I did, yeah, Memorial Day was a great event too. The American Legion does that every year with the service that they do. It's very poignant, and I don't know, probably 200 people there. And they actually, at one point when they did taps, they moved people out into the street to stop traffic. So we just, basically a human barricade. We'll have to make sure our policeman on duty next year is there to help with that, just so there's no issues. But it was very nice. It's a great event every single year. And, I'm always honored to be asked to speak at it. So I don't have any other unfinished business. On new business, we have a request for exception on water impact fees for 800 Wembley Drive condominiums. I assume that's you, Mr. Walton.
Steve Walton, Westwood Development. I have completed one building on Wembley condominium. And due to the economy, the other buildings were put on hold back in 07 and 08. I'm ready to start and complete that project now. I put in an application with the county and with the town to get the second building started. When I came to pay my fees to the town, I was surprised because it was a number that I was unfamiliar with. The number that I had been paying before and with Park Place condominium, which are the same buildings, was a lot less. I was unaware of the difference at the time. I just paid what I was told. And there was a water impact fee in that, if I'm not mistaken. There was a hookup fee and a smaller water impact fee. What I would request at this time is that I be able to be grandfathered with these final 3 buildings of Westwood Park with the old fees, because the economies are totally different. I'm just trying to get them completed, get them on the tax records, and complete Westwood Park. That has been approved up to this date. And that's why I'm here this evening to get your approval on that.
So you got 3 buildings, 36 units to go.
Correct, yes, sir.
And then you're done. You got any singles left?
I'm completing my last single right now.
And you paid this impact fee on the singles.
I did, yes, sir.
So just for whatever reason, we didn't charge you on the condos.
I have no idea.
We didn't.
I just paid what I was told.
Yeah, we kind of went back and when you had your surprise visit here, or your surprise when you visited here, we went back and checked all the records. And it appears that you have not been paying the impact fee that was required. And so you've basically been saving about $15,000 on every building. So it's been a mistake on the town's part for not charging you the fee. You should have been charged all along since 1998. So we don't know why that was, but we didn't raise the fee. In fact, the water impact fee's gone down since the impact fees were originally adopted. They used to be $1,600 plus per building. Now they're down to $1,502 per unit. Now they're down to $1,502 per unit. So apparently the town office has been making a mistake for the 20 years that you've been building these buildings and just been charging the wrong impact fee. So the fee that you were given is the correct fee.
Well, it was a fee that I was unaware of before, like I said. And when I started Westwood Park, I provided 2 wells that were an abundance of water that was transferred to the town. I built a pump house, and looking back, I was assuming that that's what went into my fee at the time, my permit fees.
That has to do with water connection fees and water replacement fees. Has nothing to do with water impact fees.
I'm just saying what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's what I'm requesting today, is that I be grandfathered in for these next 3 buildings. The economy is, I'm not selling these condos for anything close to what they used to sell for. Construction costs have gone up 40 to 50% since I stopped building these condos. So there's a small area in the middle where I have to survive. I can't really raise prices much more than where they are because the market won't accept them.
I understand your problem, but we just spent over $3 million to replace infrastructure on Main Street, and that's what the impact fees are supposed to go for, is to cover our infrastructure cost into the future for supplying water to everyone, including your development. So,
But that fee has been known for 40 years. That needed to be replaced. And I assumed that everything was being set aside for that up to this point.
I think as the mayor covered earlier, our water fund has been underfunded for years. We've had to move money from the general fund to cover our shortages on the water fund. That's why we're raising water rates at 8% per year to try to get the water fund to where it's carrying itself. And that water fund not only covers that has to cover the infrastructure cost, replacement of infrastructure, and impact fees goes into that fund to help pay for the infrastructure replacement cost.
Do the units have individual meters, or is there 1 meter per building?
1 meter per building.
Again, the meter, there's a charge for a meter, and it is correctly charged for just 1 meter on here. And there's a connection fee for, that's correctly charged. But the impact fees, like I said, they're completely different from the water charges. It's an impact fee for paying for the infrastructure to support the water system.
Well, I'm just trying to get them on the tax rolls sooner. And every time I have to stumble, it slows down the process of putting them on your books.
We appreciate that. I mean, Steve, we looked at it, and we looked at the resolution. I mean, you and I negotiated that thing, for God's sake, way back in the day.
Well, you negotiated it. I fulfilled it.
Okay. But, and we had all the requirements in there laid out for you, for the approvals to go through, and that's what that covered. And then as we just didn't look at this blindly. We went back and did a lot of research. Tammi went back and got some dust on the knees and dirt under the fingernails.
But the
going through all
impact fees
files.
didn't exist during the approval process.
Right,
They
yeah,
came
and
in
so the
later.
impact fees came in after, which is the same way, they came in '98, and you were approved in '96.
Six.
Yes.
And I think Mr. Hill was approved, around the same time frame with North Carroll Farms 4. And you paid every impact fee for the singles, and he paid every impact fee for singles and towns and whatever else. I don't know why there was a oversight on the 7 buildings that are built to date, but
Like I said, I don't know either. This was news to me when I saw this number, and I wasn't familiar with that number, and that's why I raised the question with Ms.
Yeah.
Ledley.
Well, I think one of your condo units, is it Brandywine, that does have a water meter per unit?
Not Brandywine.
no.
No.
It's typical of condos have one per
I don't
building.
have
One per building.
And they catch it
They're
in the
not
condo
sub-unit.
fee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct.
So,
God, I wish it was. 1 per unit.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but, the fee is what it is. All right?
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Other new business? Then we have all those ordinance and resolutions that we had the public hearing on, where I went on for about 15 minutes. Adoption of ordinance 526, which is an ordinance for the levy of taxes for the fiscal year 2019.
Second.
Any further discussion? This is the ordinance that sets the property tax rate at 22 cents. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Ordinance 527, an ordinance to adopt the annual budget of the town of Hampstead for the period July 1/18 through June 30th, 29, and that's out there on your tables, which shows some of the raw numbers involved in the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, I'm going to hold off on ordinance 528 since we're on a roll related to all the budget stuff.
Yep.
Okay. An adoption of resolution 2018-02, which is a resolution regarding the increase of water rates.
So moved.
Second.
This is the one where we increase the water rates and set the rates for the next year and for the budget that we are adopting. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Let's introduce
All
529.
right, we can introduce 529, which is an ordinance to amend Chapter 132 of the Town Code regarding water bill penalty charges and restoration of service. We're changing or tweaking the penalties for late payment and for restoration of water service because we tend to have, for lack of a better term, the same people doing this over and over and over again. And we're going to increase the penalty from $20 to $25 for late payment and
Cut the
And-
time limit,
cut the time limit.
Yep.
late
There's
charge.
a 30-day grace period, and that's it. So,
Move to introduce.
thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Joe. Any discussion on the introduction? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. 528. You guys want to have some back and forth, I think.
I guess I'll start. After discussing the suggested definition that was given and looking at the state law which it was referring to, I saw that it was problematic. My suggestion was that we limit it to the classes, but now I find out that may be problematic as well. Today I went out and looked at another town's code, and I'm sure everybody might have got it, if they got it in the
Airy's?
packet, the email.
Yeah, Mount
Mount Airy's. My suggestion would be that we take the introduced ordinance, which just had Article 1, which was adding subsection J to 135, 113, and submit the text that I provided to the council. It would say, the following businesses or operations that involve the production, storage, distillation, manufacturing, processing, distribution, and wholesale and retail sale of liquor, beer, wine, coffee, and/or cider made from produce grown or produced off-site. The hosting of tours and tastings of such products incident to such businesses or operations conducted on the premises. Such business or operations must be conducted in an enclosed building. Such operation shall be in compliance with any and all local and state liquor laws, licensing requirements, and health department regulations, and shall possess any and all licenses which may be required by Carroll County, the town of Hampstead, and/or state of Maryland. And then it goes on to list micro distillery, microbrewery, micro winery, and coffee roasting operations. So it'd be my motion that we change the language. So to do this correctly, I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 528.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay.
Discussion.
discussion.
So my suggestion would be that we take out the language that we have in the introduced ordinance J and substitute this language. And then we can come back at a later time and better define what we mean by micro distillery, microbrewery, micro winery. That would be my
So that's an
motion.
amendment. You're making an
Yes.
amendment to it?
Yes, I'm suggesting we make amendment to the ordinance to remove the text under J in Article 1 and substitute what I just read.
Is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
Okay. Jim, you're good with it?
Yeah, looking back at it, when we originally went through P and Z, we figured, great, there's a definition, that's what we need, but then going back and looking closer at it, it was too general, too generic, and it opened us up to a lot of different possibilities of businesses coming in that we may not particularly want. So I thought that it was a good move, and this wording that Wayne came up with, I think, is ideal. And I agree that what we do have to do is come back in the future and come up with the definitions for the micro distillery, microbrewery, and micro winery.
All right, I see the potential user shaking their head yes, so,
I provided them with a copy of this prior to the meeting.
all right. Any further discussion?
Still want to include the coffee thing into all this too, or?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
It's brewing.
All right, all those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All those in favor of ordinance 528 as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Public comments? Jason, nothing? I mean, you're running for Board of Ed.
Build a tree on that
Here
one.
thank you. Just to shake a couple hands and introduce myself. If you do not know me, my name is Jason Helen. I live on Northwoods Trail, and I'm very vocally trying to keep them from closing down more schools in our area, so I took the lead and I'm running for Board of Ed. So if you'd like to come to the meeting, love to introduce myself and get to know you all a little bit better. Hopefully, in about 3 weeks, we'll be moving on into November.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Anything else? Going once, twice? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Take your pick.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you all.